Hey everybody, welcome to Kingdom Justice. Your host Courtney Jones speaking, and today we're back. And so today we're back, and we left off on Parasite Part 3, and today we're on Parasite Part 4. So as we starting to see, as we're going through this Parasite teaching, how these spirits are affecting, how we have these spirits of Amorite and Jebusite spirits, how they are got into the controls of the churches, and you're getting a bunch of egotistical people in the church. You get a bunch of ministers they're self worshiping. It's all about themselves. They're keeping people from God. You also have a bunch of different religions of people who claim that they know God as a group of people. You have a bunch of groups. Because you got to understand something. We say this all the time. The Bible says this, that evil preachers or pastors or teachers or false prophets, they create evil people. So if you have a blind pastor leading people, he's going to lead the blind, lead the blind. So a lot of times we got to get out of looking at things in numbers. We got to get out of numbers. A lot of times, like I said before, when you see a sheep or you see a gazelle or these things, sometimes you see these animals, they run in packs, and they run in these packs. So they're actually trying to think that they're staying together to stay safe from the wolves or from the lions. They think that they're standing this pack to stay safe because they're trying to find safety in numbers instead of trying to find the truth. You see, true freedom. You see, instead of trying to figure out how can the lions never be able to attack us, how can we get the knowledge to figure out how to escape from the lions? Well, the lions cannot find us or even track us. Well, let's not do this. Let's just try to believe and that numbers make sense. So therefore, we play the numbers game. That means that we do this in the church. It's so many people. It's like this is a really big churches. There's so many people here. So I mean, they all can't be wrong. So let's just go on what the majority does. And one thing the Word of God has showed us that the majority usually are the ones on the losing side. They're the ones who's falling fast as possible to hell, and usually people fall victim to this. So many people now in this Jezebel ministry, or these people in this, they listen to this Jezebel teaching, and all about self, 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 not Jesus, all about self. Some of them even covering items, covering things they don't even need. But preachers are telling them to go after this, and it's all about money, money, money. They done took the ways of God in certain things. Yes, God wants us to sow seeds. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, He wants us to sow seeds into His ministry because He have ministers and He have prophets and everything else that are blessed. So therefore, you have some people that God have called that are blessed, and then when someone give in to that person, you know what? Then they're gonna get that blessing. You see. So like for instance, a person like me, just saying for instance, or is anointed by God to go out and do the will of God. Well, then if I can give you the knowledge and revelation that God is performing through me, and you're being blessed by that, then that shows you that a person is blessed by God. And see, when a person you see that they're blessed by God, and you was to help them to go out to others, to be able to go further to preach to others, to help build a wall here, then you will be blessed by what you give. So yes, that does work in that situation. But you have people who then took it to their own greed and they then twisted it. You see, and they then twisted it to their own greed and they then did this, and then so many people are obsessed not with our Lord Jesus, but they're obsessed with being blessed or getting more and more and more and studying. You're supposed to be looking and getting into the kingdom and going forth in the kingdom, but they're so obsessed with not the knowledge of God, not the wisdom, not the positioning, not their authority, and not the work that He has for them. They just want to keep where they at, stay where they at, and they want to just get blessings, blessings, blessings. And they're using the objects and the numbers of people to fall behind these things. And I'll try to tell people, that's one of the worst things you can do is if you have a blind guy and he got a bunch of blind people, then what are they going to do? They're going to hinder others. So let's go into this because, it's only a 30-minute show. So let's go into this. I'm going to get into this quickly because I don't want to have you, I want to get to this quickly. So let's go to Luke. Let's go to Luke chapter 8, verse 43. Luke chapter 8, verse 43. Now it says in Luke chapter 8, verse 43, and a woman having an issue of blood for 12 years, which had spent all her living on physicians, neither could be healed of any, Now I want you to see that. Now this woman who she spun a whole livelihood. That means she spun a whole everything that she have. She spun a whole livelihood on these things. Now another thing I want you to see before we go any further in this, that a woman. Now we know how the law was in the Bible at this point. We know how God. And I want to explain this so people can get this and they don't misinterpret this because that's how they didn't did it, a lot of them. Now the woman had an issue of blood. Now God said when a woman had an issue of blood, then they put them in certain places like a quarantine place. Now the reason what that means, what people understand is what blood means was uncleanness. So what that means that she was unclean. That's what that represented. A woman on her period was unclean. That you notice that anybody had an issue of blood, not just the woman. If the man had an issue or defect or something, they put them over there because the way God seen it is that, I want you to see this now, when God seen it was unclean. Now he wasn't talking about people who was just physically have this issue. What I'm trying to show you is that that represents sin. You see, that represents sin. People who was in sin was unclean. So therefore, when they didn't want to come to be clean, they didn't want to come to God, and they didn't want to follow the rules of God. God and them quarantine these people. They put them out there. The same thing that goes out of the kingdom of heaven. If a person won't want to come in, you coming into the want to come in the kingdom for the wrong reasons. You want to serve Jesus for the wrong reasons. I'm trying to tell you here now that you will be pushed out. You see, you will be what you call pushed out in quarantine, and they will be put in other places. And when there's so many of these people in these places, then they start to create things. So you got so many people unclean, instead of them saying, you know what, I'm tired of being out here by myself. Well, now it went from one person to it's a mob of people outside. You see, now it's like everybody's unclean out there. And they say, we'll start our own thing. We're just whatever. Well, see, that's what goes on a lot of the time. See, so people come into God with the wrong reasons, then they're going to find themselves being separated and divided. They may find themselves in a group of people that's just like them, and that may be a large mob. And what happens when people come in that want God, you see, you're gonna end up causing them people all kind of chaos and problems because they're trying to find God, and you're gonna hinder them. Let's go a little further than this now. Let's go to the 44th verse. It says, now after we said the woman, remember she couldn't be healed. She checked out all the doctors, everything she could. She couldn't be healed, and the way it looks like she's unclean too, because she's bleeding for all these years. So she's definitely a person that they will isolate her and feel that what she's unclean. Like she's dirty, she's unclean. They would have kept her there. So let's go a little further in this. It say came behind him. And she came by Jesus. She came behind him and touched the border of his garment, and immediately her issue of blood had stopped. Now her issue of blood have stopped. It means it ceased. Okay, that means soon as she touched him, she was clean. The blood. I mean, think about it. And as soon as she touched Jesus, she was clean. Because remember, she couldn't touch anyone. She couldn't be what they would say in a crowd of people at this point. But the woman didn't care. She's went through all these people. Now these people. Now this is a crowd. So she's going through these people. People bumping her. This, you know how it is going through a crowd. People get trampled. People that got trampled to death. Going through a crowd like a stampede. She's been hitting, bowled, stepped on, people pushing her, everything else. But she just got to the border. You see, she just got close enough where she just grabbed on just a little bit, and that's all that she needed. Now, let me show you something that's interesting, because by this woman doing, let me show you something interesting. Now go to 45 verses. Say, and Jesus said, "Who touched me?" He said, "Who touched me?" When all denied. And you notice they say all denied. When all denied, they all denied that they touched Jesus. You see, he said when all denied, Peter and they that were with him said, "Master, the multitude is throng you and press you and say you, who touched me?" Now, what that word throng means. Well, we got to understand the word throng means a mob. It means a mob, a crowd, a multitude. Okay. Then it means press you, mean press in. What press in means is to cut off. It means to choke, to cut off. You see, this is what this story is trying to show you. Though he said the mob. Now notice that word throng means a mob, assembly, a group, a large amount of people. Also can mean a riot. See, a lot of people surrounding him, even though they're all surrounding Jesus on all sides. You see, you got this religion, you got that religion, you got this division. They all, even though they all, this mob, they walking Jesus, Jesus like they know him, but they are not activating no power. You see, they know who he is. They all around trying to get in line, but they have no power. You see, they're just crowding him. They're pressing him, and what that means, they're cutting off. They're choking the word. They're choking him. They're cutting off him. They're cutting off him to other people getting in. You see, and so this woman didn't care. She went through there getting persecuted, getting beat up. She went through there anyway. She didn't let the majority choke her out of her blessing, choke her out with her relationship with Jesus, choke her out with being clean. See, sometimes it's not the pastors. They're just the one that's choking you out, or the disciples that we see in the situation. It's not just them sometimes. Sometimes it's the people in the place. You see? Sometimes, what I mean is, what I was trying to say is this. When you have ministers that this is what they preach, there are people that way. See, so don't always just look at the ministers as just that way by himself. It's the congregation. See, this mob in there. This whole division in there is holding people back. It's keeping people from Jesus. But you think that they must be of God because, I mean, it's so many of them. It's a multitude, but that you don't see that multitude is pressing in. See, they're cutting off, and they're choking. They're cutting off and they're choking the word of God out of people. They're keeping people from God. They're keeping people from God. And see, this is a lot of time where we don't see these things that happen. And this is something that are affecting the work of God, as we see. You see that people want to come in, they want to come in, but see, all of a sudden they're preaching this, they're preaching that, they're doing this, they're doing that, and then the person feel like, well, see, I felt like God really wanted calling on me, but I came in here. And these people telling me no. So you just need to do this. You need to just be here. Just do this. Just do that. And so what ended up happening sometimes is that those people never get their chance to get the connection with God. Some of these people preaching stuff that you ain't supposed to have this kind of thing. You got some religions believe that you're just supposed to follow this, rules, this, and you ain't supposed to have no relationship with God. You're supposed to just read that book and follow them rules, and that's all it is. And you get no manifestation of God, no power. You notice that no one took no power out of Jesus. Jesus knew someone touched him because the power left him. You see, but all the multitude, even though they screaming his name and they're all around mobbing and pressing into him, choking the word off from others, cutting it off. Now we know what the Amalekite mean, and we're doing a teaching on Amalekite on the other radio show. But we know what Amalekite mean. Amalekite means, the spirit of Amalekite means eyes of doubt, and to cut off. So what do that mean? Amalekite means, it means eyes of doubt. Okay, it means spiritual blindness, and it means cut off, to cut off. Okay, now we know that what are these people doing? Trying to what? Cut off. You see, they're pressing in. Pressing in, like we said, means to choke or to cut off. And so you notice Jesus did the parable. He said about the sower sowing seeds. And he said that the enemy come by and do what? Choke the word out of them. Choke, cut off the Amalekite. Because the Amalekite worship will represent Agag, King Agag. And Agag means the fiery one, the serpent. So we know that he has an assembly of people in religion and tradition, these things that are keeping people from God. That's why you notice Jesus called the Pharisees. He said this to the Pharisees. He said, you see, even though you look up Pharisees and what you're going to get what Pharisees mean, you'll get partially what Pharisees mean, and what it means is to divide and separate. To divide and separate. Okay, so but Jesus give you not just that, add that definition. Jesus give you the best definition, and also on top of that, John the Baptist give you the great one definition. You notice that when they seen the Pharisees, they said brood of vipers. Brood means descendants of serpents. Now, he called them descendants of serpents. Jesus also told them, you of your father the devil, the serpent. Now, I want you to understand, look at the word itself, Pharisees. Now, we know Pharaoh. Now, notice this, God hated Pharaoh. Now, we know what Pharaoh means. We know Pharaoh ain't nothing but They ain't nothing but that the word translated as sun and these things of nature means sun worshippers, grave robbers, grave stealers. You know, we know that for a fact that that's what that represent. So we know that for a fact that what did the pharaohs do? They wanted to charge people to go to the afterlife. You see, they wanted you to. They had to live this life where they come up with some of these gods they worship. They had to live this life where they try to keep themselves from what they call sin. And when they try to do that, they would take money, and they would pretty much the people would charge them to go to the afterlife. So they would have to take their money, and then they would take their money. Women may be with them, servants, and they would die. And when they die, they would take people. They would actually kill people. They would bury people with them, and bury money and everything else. So when they go to the afterlife, they believe that they will give them this money, and also they will be tested. Their heart will be put on a scale, and if they did so much bad, so much good, and then the offering of the money, if they accept it, then they accept it. If not, then they had this creature that'll come and eat your heart. Now, what this is the same thing that goes on actually in the Catholic churches. We see they buy people paying for purgatory. Now, how you gonna pray for something that's free? God tell you come drink, eat, it's free. You know, come drink, it's free. You see, but they're making people pay to for afterlife. They're also walking around acting like they're holy, acting like they're trying, and their holiness definition is not God definition. And they're walking around, they're trying to act all like they're so godly and perfect. Meanwhile, look what they're oppressing the people with. You see, they pressing the people with this and that, but they're acting like they're so holy. You got to pay for purgatory. You got to pay for death. See, all the Catholic churches, and I don't mind saying this, all they are is the New Age Pharisees. Now, notice that the Pharisees, because that what they want to do is keep you believing that you just a normal common person. You can't get to God like so-called a pope or these people. So their whole organization is set up like they got people in ranks, and you can't get up to that rank. You ain't that person. You see, and all of them will sit back for you to worship them people and then walk down the road and worship this person. See, that's all what that's about. Pharisees. That's why he said, Jesus said, y'all like the good places at the festivals. Y'all like to walk down to the market. Like another way of saying walking down. Look how they walk through the streets and people just, so they love all that. That's their praise. That's their worship. They love those things. And see, at this time they call them Pharisees. Now notice the word Pharaoh, sees. You see, Pharaoh sees. Now you know that's what it is. Pharaoh sees. Now what I want you to understand is the people in the Old Testament, they call prophets seers. They call prophets seers. You know, like for instance, when you went to a person, you say, let's go to a seer because God used them to tell people his messages. He also used them to prophesy. So they called them seers. Like they seers for God. They prophets for God. Well, that's what the Pharisees are. Pharaoh seers, prophets. They're the prophets of Ra. It's the same thing of the Pharaoh. It's the same thing when you see Sisera. In the Bible, you go to Judges, you see something called Sisera. Okay? Sisera means servants of Ra. Servants of Ra. And Deborah, God rose up Deborah to defeat them back then. And so what I'm trying to tell you, it's the same thing. It went from them to the Pharisees to these things going on to this is what's going on even in that church. And I don't mind saying that because that's what needs to be said. Like we done already discussed it, the people who worship up snakes in the wrong manner. Well, let's keep on. Now, I want you to see this. Now, when you got a church like this, people who, they got to go through these people. You see, you're trying to go to these people to get to God. He got to tell you you're forgiven. Well, what is this about? See, Holy Mary. Mary needed Jesus. This don't make any sense. See, these things, and then pagan religions, days of dead. Well, let the dead bury the dead. They dead. You know, what can you do for them? See, all these things that's been created. You see, you just believe in God. You just believe in Jesus. You will get your healing. I've seen it happen plenty of times. Ain't no holy water. I can cast a demon out. You don't need no holy water. See, what is all this stuff? But people fall into paganism and all these things. And see, what I'm trying to tell you is that, see, you pressed in. You see, they're keeping you from God. You sitting up there thinking that they're higher than me. They're more mighty than me. They're more this than me. I'm accursed. See, they walk around, I'm so holy, but I'm accursed. I can't touch. You see, I can't touch Jesus like they can. I can pray to the degree, but I can't get in there like they can. Those guys are much more above. God didn't call them to be so much higher than I am. I'm nothing. We just come here and do the little thing, listen to this. We put the little crosses on our hands, Saint Mary things, and whatever. See, all this is showing you straight up. This is abomination of God. And God said, I want everyone to know me. He wants everyone to have a relationship with Him. Jesus going to be the one to wash you clean. You know, as the woman, she had the issue of blood. When she touched Jesus, she was made clean. When she touched him, now she go to someone that confessed that to her. Job even said this in the book of Job. Job told his friends, listen, if I sin, that's my business. So that's between me and God. They ain't got to go tell no man. The man to tell me, oh, it's okay. Listen, you see, all that's unnecessary. You see, you need to have your walk with Jesus. He need to know you. How else he gonna, knock on the door and he gonna say, I don't know who you are. See, what you mean? I was sitting over here. See, no, you need to know him for yourself. You need to believe. You need to walk with him. You need to get in his word with him. You need to spend your time with him. You need to follow him with everything that you have. You don't have to be thinking. You don't have to be thinking somebody got it for you. You see, because the majority's doing it, because there's a billion people in this religion, so the majority's doing it. You see, this woman was in the same situation. These people was cutting off the power of God. Like I try to tell you, where is the power coming through this place? It's all natural power. Like the Pharisees, hey, listen here, send some guys over here to do this to Jesus. Slap Jesus for me, the Jebusite guy. Get the guy to slap Jesus for him. You see, because, that's the power we have. We have physical power. We got a bunch of people. We got people buying into this. We got people willing to protect this. Physical power. They don't have no spiritual power. People ain't getting healed. People not getting delivered of these things. They don't have this. Many of these powers are not flowing through this here situation. You see? And that's what I'm trying to tell people. See, all them people surrounding these religions, these different religions we got from Muslim, these things are happening. But you know what? Where is the power? See, ain't no one touching God. You see, ain't no one touching Jesus. They ain't getting the power out. But see, the woman who did touch him, she got the power out. And Jesus knew she got the power out. And he knew when she got the power out, who touched me? Who touched me? And Jesus said, somebody had touched me, for I perceived that the virtue is gone out of me. And when the woman saw that she was not hidden, she came trembling. Now she's afraid because she know that they didn't taught her, you are not supposed to you are not, listen, you're supposed to be clean. You're not supposed to bleed to touch anyone. And this man is, the way they looking at it, this man is a prophet. Or you think about it, she's in a crowd. That means she's in a place where there's a lot of people. You are not supposed to be doing this. She's been taught the wrong thing because they didn't took the wrong thing and twisted it and don't understand what God was trying to say was clean and what was unclean. You see? And they didn't took it because they don't know the revelation of God. They don't know the spiritual revelation of God. You see, when God wrote the laws, he wrote them on both sides. But then the people never got both sides at that time because they were sin. When God came down, they was worshiping up that Canaanite spirit, that bull. And so Moses threw them down, and when he threw the commandments down, they broke to pieces. When God told him he'll write some new ones, when God wrote the new ones, he didn't write on both sides. That means that, you know what? God didn't write on the inside of the cup. He wrote on the outside of the cup. So therefore, that means that on the outside of it, that's what you had the law. That's why people had to try to work it. They trying to do works. But see, God said, I'm going to write it on the inside and on the outside. So that's the covenant we on under. God said, I'm going to write on that stone heart of yours. Notice that that's the inside that he wrote on. You see, that's for everybody. That's not for me to have to go check with all these people in different divisions and all this, that they so greater than I. That's not how this works. And so that's what the woman, she believed in that law, that stuff that goes on. And Jesus trying to show her this. She said, and when the woman saw that she was not hidden, she came trembling and fall down before him. She declared to him before all the people for what cause she had touched him and how she was healed immediately. Now you notice that if God didn't approve of this, no power would have came out, but it did. And he said to her, daughter, notice that he called her daughter. See, that's ownership. Daughter, mean you're mine. You're my family. You are mine. He said, you know what Jesus said? He said, the ones who do my Father will is my mother, brother, sister. Okay, now he's calling her daughter. Means she's part of him. Okay? See, she thought she was nothing. She thought there was this, but he said daughter. And he said to her, daughter, be of good comfort. Your faith has made you whole. Go in peace. Now I want you to really just see that. Now he told her, go in peace. Go in peace. He called her daughter. You see what I'm saying? He called her daughter. Because what she did was she was doing the will of God. She came through all that persecution. People want to stomp on her, beat on her, do all this. She went straight through it. She did not stop for anything. She did not let them choke that out of her. She did not let that happen. She went through all that no matter what it was. She went through it. You know, she went through it no matter what the situation was. The lady said, hey, I don't care. She went straight through the situation. She didn't care what was going to happen to her or if it wasn't. Now I want to take you to somewhere else. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 65, verse 1. This is God speaking out. I'm actually in the Catholic translation on this one. I was in the King James. I'm in the Catholic translation on this. I was ready to be started out by those who did not ask, to be found by those who did not seek me. I said, here I am, to a nation that did not call on my name. I held out my hand all day long to a rebellious people who walk in a way that is not good, follow their own devices, meaning their own desires. A people who provoke me to my face continually, sacrifices in gardens, and offer incense on bricks, who set inside tombs and spend the night in secret places, who eat swine flesh with broth of abomination of things in their vessels. Now this is interesting because this is what the Pharisees are about, and this is what I see the Catholic Church is about when they get to their priesthood and all that. Same thing. Who say, keep to yourself, do not come near me, for I am too holy for you. Now we remember this is what the Pharisees was doing. See, keep to yourself. Don't go into that man's house. See. Now here's God talking about this is abomination. So why was these people doing this, and why was the people following them back then? If they would have read the scriptures, then they would have knew. Hey, this is not what this is saying. Why we can't go into a person's house? You notice Peter and them was even with that. Even though Peter and them should have knew better, like I said, Peter and them didn't know the scriptures. Even though they was following around Jesus, he was trying to show them things. Their heart was hard to the point where even when he left them and left the Holy Spirit with them and everything. But even though they got the Spirit of God, they still was believing the same thing. They have not let that old man go. They still was believing that we are not supposed to go inside these people's house. These people are not clean. This is what they started to think. That's why God told Peter, don't you say what I make clean ain't clean. Who are you to say that? But see, he had that mindset. It was set in his heart. It was racism. It was set into him. You see, that gospel of what they did was set into him. And if it was set into him at that time, then you know it was set into him when he walked with Jesus. Now, this was a problem because when God showed him this, and he had to go back and Peter see, oh, the Gentiles can get it. Someone else can get this. Then when he had to come out of it, he told the people want to know what's going on. See, they still going on this when they're not following the things of God, and they finding out that we're doing things the wrong manner. Now God say this, who say, keep to yourself, do not come near me, for I am too holy for you. These are smoke in my nostrils, a fire that burns all day long. This is abomination to people when people think this way. You know, I tell people all the time, you know, we talk about people that live in sin, we talk about people that need to be in belief. We talk about all these things. And sometimes people interpret things the wrong way because that's what they want to do. And sometimes what we call the Leviathan, who they twist words, he twists people's words up. You know, I tell people all day, listen, if a person into drugs, that don't mean God do not want you. You see, that don't mean that. That means God wants to help fix this issue. Come to him right now in Jesus' name. He will fix that issue you're dealing with. That's what you need to do. A person homosexuality, you are tired, you don't want it. Come to Jesus and he will get rid of it. You see, but what I preach to people is the same thing what God is preaching, is that people don't come to God with the wrong kind of heart. You don't come to God like, you know what, I'm racist, I'm hatred, and I don't want to change. I want to just say that I'm born again, just to be born again. And see, we have a lot of people like that. They come into God, and that's their mind state. I don't want to change. And so what's going to happen, if you don't want it, like Paul said, if you don't want to do the work, the faith don't belong to you. If you're not going to believe and want to do it, it's not for you. So you can't just come in with that kind of mind state, think I'm gay, I'm going to always be gay, and I'm going to live this life, and I'm going to keep on provoking God wrath. Like God said, provoking me every day, constantly with this stuff they're doing. This is Courtney Jones. Blessing, peace be to you. I'm running out of time, and I'm out.